War in Cali, the story of Daryl Bailey, aka Little Trigger. By the late 1970s, Los Angeles was already changing. Conflicts between Crips and Bloods, and even internal rivalries within the same gangs, were turning entire neighborhoods into battlegrounds. As the 1980s approached, the violence escalated. Murder rates surged. South Central Los Angeles became home to more than 100 different gangs. Growing up in that environment was dangerous, and for many young people, survival meant choosing a side. This was the world Daryl Bailey was born into. Daryl Bailey, also known as Little Trigger, was born around 1973 and grew up in South Central Los Angeles. Like many youths in the area, he became deeply entrenched in gang life. Eventually, he affiliated with the Harvard Park Six Deuce Brims, a blood set that gained a reputation for heavy street activity. The Six Deuce Brims were surrounded by powerful enemies, including the Rolling 60s Crips, the Avenue Gangster Crips, and the Hoovers. They formed alliances with other blood sets, especially within the Brim Alliance, such as the Fruittown Brims and the Van Ness Gangster Brims. Violence was constant, and several members gained notoriety for shootings and other crimes. The streets were unforgiving, and status was often earned through violence. By the late 1980s, Daryl Bailey was trying to build his name within his gang. To gain recognition, he decided it was time to prove himself. On August 31st, 1988, Daryl drove through rival gang territory, randomly firing shots. 3 people were wounded. Among them was 14-year-old Jerry Huff, who had been outside cleaning his brother's car when Daryl pulled up and shot him. Jerry was critically injured but survived. After the shooting, Daryl faced 6 counts of attempted murder. But before his trial was even over, he walked out of the courtroom and disappeared. Authorities later suspected he was also involved in a conspiracy to kill a witness. Now a fugitive, Daryl fled Los Angeles and headed to St. Louis, Missouri, where he had family connections. By that time, LA gang culture had already spread across the country. St. Louis had become home to various Crip and Blood sets, many started by people with ties back to Los Angeles. Daryl was already connected there, but law enforcement was closing in. His case appeared on the nationally broadcast show America's Most Wanted on December 10, 1989. That exposure changed everything. Tips began pouring in.
Your tips gave confirmed sightings to a special anti-gang task force in St. Louis. They tracked Bailey to this suburban house owned by his aunt. But Bailey disappeared again, just hours before police arrived. Task force turned up the heat, and Monday, their work paid off.
We got a tip earlier in the evening that he'd be at this location, and when we arrived, we set up surveillance cars. A short time later, one of the subjects came out of the house. We stopped that subject, and he told us that he left Daryl Bailey in the house in question. We discovered Daryl Bailey hiding in the attic of the house, and that's where we effected his arrest.
He was arrested by 7 members of the Fugitive Apprehensive Strike Team in an area known as Vela Village. St. Louis police credited America's Most Wanted for being instrumental in the capture. One detective later said that without the show's profile, they wouldn't have known Daryl was a fugitive.
Back in Los Angeles, Bailey's arrest was good news to shooting victim Jerry Huff and his mother.
He said they got it. I can go outside. I can have a little freedom now, knowing that he won't come around the corner and shoot me again.
Daryl Bailey was placed in the custody of St. Louis police, awaiting extradition to California. Thanks to public tips, authorities announced that 91 fugitives had been captured through the program. Daryl was extradited back to California, where he faced 6 counts of attempted murder, all before the age of 18. By then, his life had been derailed entirely by the streets. Little information exists about Daryl Bailey's current whereabouts, but his story reflects the chaos of the 1980s and 1990s, a period when gang culture, drugs, and violence reshaped entire cities. The rise of gangs like the Crips and Bloods was fueled by economic decline, segregation, and the crack cocaine epidemic. Profits from street-level drug distribution expanded gang influence nationwide, leading to internal wars, fractured leadership, and endless cycles of retaliation. Daryl Bailey's story isn't unique, but it is a reminder of how fast a life can be consumed by the streets, and how a single decision can echo forever. If this story moved you, like, share, and follow Damu Nation for more true stories.